Not only is Dogger famous for being a staple on Radio 4's nightly shipping forecast, but the UK's eastern sandbank is now host to a world-breaking Goliath. Over on this windswept and inhospitable coastline, something remarkable is happening.
General synopsis of 1800.
Bank Windfarm is the world's largest offshore wind farm, or will be when it's fully constructed. I'm Alan Borland. I am the Senior Project Manager for Bank Windfarm. It's located between 150 and 200 kilometres off the east coast of the UK. Once complete, it will generate 3.6 gigawatts of electricity, which will be around about 5% of the UK's electricity demand, so the equivalent of the electricity needed to power 6 million UK homes.
So why is offshore wind such a good method for generating electricity?
If you look at, what's commonly called the energy trilemma, so achieving net zero, security of supply and cost to consumers, offshore wind offers benefits for all three of those areas of concern. Obviously, it's producing clean energy. By having it not requiring, fuel and not having a dependency on the import of gas on coal, it secures the supply of electricity for the UK. And then in terms of cost of energy, well, Dogger Bank is an example, and offshore wind as a whole is one of the lowest cost forms of electricity that we can produce.
If offshore wind is reliable, affordable and sustainable, why would anyone be against it, and why are we still using fossil fuels? Back on the firm concrete of London, where the sea seems a long way away, I'm walking the vibrant streets of Camden to meet with someone who can provide me with some answers.
Hi, I'm Ali. I'm a senior campaigner at climate charity Possible, where we call for solutions to tackle the climate crisis, which also improve people's lives. But there's a huge amount of polling evidence showing that actually people do like wind, people like clean energy, people understand the importance of ending use of fossil fuels, and people are actually quite happy to have new wind projects built near them.
Could we just talk a little bit about why we are still so ingrained in fossil fuels when there are alternatives out there?
That's a really good question, and it's a particularly good question when it comes to getting fossil fuels out of our energy supply, because the alternatives to generating electricity with fossil fuels are cheaper. People really like them, they're relatively quick to get going, and we really should be making much quicker progress on things like wind and solar power than we are. Every missed opportunity to get more renewables commissioned and starting to get built and come online is really something that we can't afford, given how urgent all of this is in the face of the climate emergency.
So not only do people want more wind energy, but it's also desperately needed. If, like Alan said, Dogger Bank's going to provide electricity for 5% of UK homes, then we just need to build 19 more? And we'll be able to provide clean, cheap and green energy to all of the UK's homes. So what's the hold-up?
The big challenge with building offshore wind is you want a wind farm in a place where it's windy. The challenge with that is being windy means that it's difficult to install. So I think there's a policy and there's a framework part, but actually they also take time to develop. Dogger Bank, if you look at that, that's 277 turbines. These are massive endeavours. They are huge projects.
Okay, so perhaps they're bigger challenges than I realised. It's urgent to get more offshore wind built to help slow down climate change, but building them is a pretty mammoth task. Before you feel a little defeated, over at Imperial College London, one researcher sheds a little optimism on the subject.
Please mind the doors. Going up.
So I'm Phil Heptonstall. I'm a research fellow here at Imperial College. My main research interests focus on the economics and policy of large-scale power generation. I think we should be extraordinarily proud about what we've achieved in the UK in terms of offshore wind. Until very recently, we were the world leader in offshore wind in terms of installed capacity, and the only country that now beats us is China, and given the size of China, that's nothing to be ashamed about.
So how complicated would it be to decarbonise our energy infrastructure?
The blunt answer is it's very complicated because we need to do lots of everything. It's not enough just to do lots and lots of offshore wind. It's not enough to do lots of nuclear or PV or onshore wind or biomass or hydro. We have to do them all, and we need a solution for aviation, for shipping, for transport, for heating. all of those things require different policy interventions. So yeah, we need to do all of the above.
So a lot more complicated than just plonking a big turbine out in the middle of the sea.
Yeah, and plonking a big turbine out in the middle of the sea is really hard and complicated and requires huge amounts of engineering expertise. So even if you're going to do all those things, you've still got all these other issues to worry about.
Meanwhile, Ali has a very clear idea on where the UK's offshore wind industry should be heading.
The UK is really, really lucky that we have really, really excellent wind resources. We're very, very lucky to have so many coasts where we can put offshore wind, and really we should be making better use of them. And this would be really good for the economy, for jobs, for the green industries of the future that we really, really need to support.
There are glimpses of the future down here on the other side of the country. On a chilly December day, I'm crossing the shingles of Brighton Beach, looking out at the faint red lights of Bank Windfarm flickering in the distance. With 116 turbines and a 400 megawatt capacity, it's smaller than its Dogger counterpart, but still enough to power 350,000 British homes. If offshore wind champions are to be believed, this will be a big part in reaching net zero, but back at Imperial College London, Phil doesn't see any silver bullets anytime soon. And I think I probably already know the answer to this, but is there one silver bullet in increasing the speed at which the UK reaches fossil-free?
I don't think there's a silver bullet. Because the reality is, I think getting to 80% reduction would be a huge achievement, and even to get to that requires a sort of a machine gun full of silver bullets, not just one silver bullet. So I always say to people who ask me, I say, well, what do we need to be doing? I say, well, everything, and now, because we can't just wait for the power system to be decarbonised and then worry about decarbonising the steel production and cement production and vehicles and air travel and shipping. We need to be doing all at the same time. Otherwise it won't happen quick enough. However, if we're going to get anywhere near it, offshore wind is going to play a major part in that. But it won't just be offshore wind.
General synopsis 1800, high 300 miles west of Seoul.